Hey scholars, this next video is actually going to cover again two topics. The first is aggregate planning and S&OP, and the second is short-term scheduling. In general, these two topics combine to display the importance of forecasting to an operations manager. Without an accurate forecast, you're kind of without a rudder, a ship without a rudder. You don't really know what to plan for, how to most efficiently run your organization. With a forecast, you've got something to work with. So in operations management, we spend quite a bit of time doing forecasting and then making our business fit that forecast, whatever it may be. And again, we don't want to be reactionary any more than we absolutely have to. When things happen, we have to react to it. We do, of course, in operations management, but things that we can control, we want to control. And being able to project a standard course of business should be something that we can control. So these next two chapters really get into that in quite a bit of detail. So let's start with the aggregate plan, or the S&OP. The time frame here is going to be in the 3 to 18 months. Call it a near-term forecast, and the purpose of the forecast is so that the operations managers can ensure that they're making the right decisions to have their business adequately staffed, whether it's in inventory like we just talked about in the last video, or people, etc. We use a longer-term forecast, 3 to 5 years, to start thinking more in terms of, do we need another plant? But in this aggregate plan, we'll be thinking about, do I need to bring another shift in October and November because of what marketing is forecasting volume to be like in the late November, early December timeframe. So you're making those decisions now, when now is late April in 2016, so that you'll be prepared to make the demand happen on your teams as you roll into, in this case, fall of 2000 and early winter of 2016. So the aggregate plan and the S&OP stands for Sales and Operations Plan, some would use them somewhat synonymously. I guess I tend to also. But a good example of it was given in the book of Frito-Lay. And what the Frito-Lay guys do is they have a forecast that's done by their headquarters, and that's done based on a demand profile that they have analysts that do modeling, statistical modeling, that says, given what's happening, this is what we think we're going to sell in terms of total demand across our various product lines. And they have, I think it was 31 plants in 17 regions or some such number. And so then what the headquarters guys do is they match that demand to the capacity as much as possible. And then from there, they're going to go out and give that demand forecast to the regions and the plants, which would then become the aggregate plan, which the operations managers then have to operationalize. They have to say, okay, well, this is what I'll have to do that. We talked a little bit when we went through this example of break-even math, which is essentially what happens if I don't have the capacity to produce everything, and the organization doesn't have the capacity to produce everything that we think is going to be demanded, and it happens frequently. What you have to do is use that break-even math, which we've discussed before, to make sure that you're producing the right mix of products. And of course, every operation has a bottleneck at some point, and what you want to do is you want to maximize profitability at the bottleneck, and that way you'll maximize profitability of the plant in general. There's a number of figures and charts I want you to look at. I'm not going to go through them in the video, it just gets too long. But take a look at figure 13.1 on page 522. These are in your text. Take a look at the 4 main points there. On page 523, take a look at the 5 main points there. Look at influencing supply and demand, which is table 13.1. On page 526, look at the 5 points there. And then let's just talk for a moment on linear programming. So what's a linear program? A linear program, like linear regression analysis, it says that there's going to be a line. And what we do with a linear forecast is we've got in linear programming, what we'll do is we'll basically assume, if you can see this, that there's two products. We got, let's say product A and product B, and we can produce a whole bunch of product A and none of product B, and etc. with our forecast here. So what you do with linear programming is you're trying to maximize your overall profitability of your business. And to do that, what you want to do is you want to come up with the points in your forecast. And the points in the forecast would be, well, you could produce nothing, 0 or 0. You can produce all of one and none of another. You can here or here. Or you can do some mixture of the two. And this math would tell you what this point is and what the mixture of the two is. Typically, it's not always, but that's going to be where you're going to produce at the highest productivity level and the highest. You use your equipment the most, and sometimes that means you're going to be the most profitable. So linear programming, it's laid out pretty clearly in my book, and it's in the text also. So take a look at it. Make sure that you've got at least you don't have to. I'm not going to give you a problem to solve on it, but you should know the concepts of it. Second on this video here is short-term scheduling. So as an operations manager, you have to come up with schedules on sometimes an hourly basis, certainly a daily basis, weekly, monthly forecast. And those are built in a master schedule from the aggregate plan, or so you take your aggregate plan 3 months to 18 months, and you'll say, okay, now what am I going to need for next month? In our case, sitting here, May of 2016, what am I going to need in terms of total output of my organization? And then how am I going to most effectively schedule my team in order to do that? One of the jobs I had a few years back was at Citibank in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where I was responsible for the control center, and we did all the scheduling of about 350 phone reps. And that's what we would do. We would do a forecast on a weekly basis. We'd look at hourly peaks and valleys, understand when we needed people, and then we'd forecast accordingly. We knew how many calls per hour an average rep could take, and we'd forecast accordingly. I mean, there were nuances, like, for instance, the 4th of July was a big holiday for people needing needing a new car because theirs was lost. Can't believe this one, but the number one reason they were lost was people went water skiing with their wallet in their pocket, and then they fell and their wallet came out of their pocket. Really do. So you learn what if you've been doing things long enough, you learn what the various nuances are, and you forecast accordingly. So you build that forecast of volume, then you come up with a schedule for that. We talked a little bit about scheduling criteria. That's in the text. You should take a look at that. And we talked a little bit about Gantt charts, which are typically used in project management, but they're also handy in scheduling to understand how many people you need to work a particular programmer in your business and when you need them. So anyways, that's it on short-term scheduling. Hope you all have a great day, and I'll see you all tomorrow afternoon. Bye.